Welcome to spring, everyone. We're a few days in. It's a little cold still. It's in the 40s. The polar bear is still dead. I feel bad for that polar bear. Had a crappy life living in here, swimming in circles maniacally, but he's been replaced by some seals or something, sea lions. I like the Central Park Zoo, but I'm not here to talk about the Central Park Zoo. People saw yesterday Senator Eric Schmidt, not to be confused with Google scumbag Eric Schmidt, two totally different guys. I like Senator Eric Schmidt. He was formerly the Missouri Attorney General, and he's the guy who brought this case, Missouri v. Biden, which, I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly how it got to Missouri. There were a couple of plaintiffs in there, Jay Bhattacharya and Jim Hoft of the Gateway Pundit, twin brother of Joe Hoft. I haven't had an opportunity. Somebody else getting a phone call there. Maybe it's me. We have to take that phone call later. Point is, Jim Hoft of the Gateway Pundit, Jay Bhattacharya, there's a couple of plaintiffs in there, and the people of Missouri somehow, I don't know, we'd have to speak to Joe or Jim to find out exactly how that came about, but they were suing Joe Biden and Nina Jankowicz and Anthony Fauci and Jen, what's her name from CISA? She's in the thumbnail. Everly. There's a bunch of people in the government who were getting sued, and I mean, I supported this lawsuit. I actually tried to intervene in the lawsuit, which is interesting because I had another lawsuit going with similar questions of facts and law and similar defendants. It's the type of thing that ordinarily you would be granted intervention for, not the type of nonsense that George's brother tries to intervene in. He loves nonsense. He's a nonsense monger. Should I go up there? I feel like I always go up there. Let's see, it's springtime. But the point is, I was denied intervention. Then there was RFK. He got involved, and he was before the same judge. Now, it's in Louisiana. How did it get moved to Louisiana? I mean, there's a lot of complicated machinations and details in this thing that I stopped paying attention to a while ago because, look, maybe lawyers watching will say, this is why you weren't allowed to intervene, Jason, because you didn't know what's going on in the case. Could be possible. I'm not an attorney. It's important for people to remember that. Maybe my legal pleadings were incompetent in nature. That's possible. But I don't think so. I think it's a sham. That's what I think, and I'm very disappointed in Senator Eric Schmidt because he's like, oh, we won. Yeah, this is a tremendous victory for the First Amendment and all this. But is it? Because they didn't actually win. You know, people who are reading headlines or reading tweets about headlines are like, oh, this is wonderful. Congratulations. You know, it's a lot of legal lip service is basically what it is, because they didn't win. They got what's called a consent decree, which is a settlement. It's a form of settlement between the plaintiffs and the defendants, who are the government, basically, where I've heard people, even Jim Jordan, going as far as saying like, oh, the government admitted that they colluded with big tech. But let me back up for people who maybe aren't directly familiar with what was going on in this case. It was all of those people, Jay Bhattacharya and Jim Hoft and couple of other plaintiffs getting together and saying, hey, we got censored on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all of that for talking about COVID and talking about the election and everything. There's so many talented musicians walking around New York City, and also giant geese. They're aggressive, apparently. Don't mess with the geese. Look, he's pissed. That goose, he's like, hey, man, get out of here. Goosing. But yeah, they're saying, oh, you know, this is a big win for the First Amendment. The lawsuit was about getting censored. And I think it was Jim Jordan who said, oh, the government admitted that they colluded with big tech. But I guess Jim Jordan didn't actually read the consent decree because it's loaded with language that explicitly says that this is not an admission of any illegal activity. It is not a ruling on the merits by incompetent federal judge Terry Doughty. And I call him incompetent because he's incompetent. When I was denied intervention, I should go back to the documents. There was an error. I remember this specifically. There was an error that was made in the interpretation of my initial filing. So I wrote back that, you know, hey, this is an excusable error. An excusable, A-N, excusable. So it's an error, but it's an excusable error. And the judge wrote back interpreting that I had said it was an inexcusable error. So that's basically the total opposite of what I said. And he's making a judgment on not understanding what the hell is being presented to him, which is terrible in my opinion. I mean, I come from a world where if you screw something up once, you're never heard from again. You know, if you're working on the set of Amazing Spider-Man or Metallica Through the Never or Pirates of the Caribbean or some mega $1 million thing like that, and you do the opposite of what you're supposed to do, like when it comes time to hit the record button and you hit stop, oh, we didn't get the take. No one's ever going to see you again. You're going to get fired. My current environment is a bit more forgiving. Thankfully, I'm sponsored by viewers of Crowdsource the Truth who go to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and sponsor the show. Thanks to everybody who does that, by the way. It's funny, you know, in the past 2 days, 3 days, not including today, but the past 2 days prior to today, I've been approached by two total strangers who came up and said, oh, Jason Goodman, I watch you on Crowdsource the Truth. Friendly viewers of the show, thank you. Xavier and Deirdre, I think were their names. So if you're watching, hi guys, thanks for stopping and saying hello. I mean, my point is not like, ooh, I'm famous, people stop me. But it's just interesting that there's this narrative on Twitter and, you know, X and, you know, all these, mostly on X, where certain malicious individuals want to be like, oh, Jason, nobody watches your show or cares what you say. I don't know, it seems New York City is a big place for two random people I don't know to come up to me and say, hey, I watched the show. Seems like a lot to me, I don't know. Not like everywhere I go I'm mobbed. I don't want that, incidentally. But my point is, Judge Doughty, you know, if they said hit record, or if they said, hey, Jason, make this Spider-Man movie 3D, and I gave them a 2D movie, I'd be fired and nobody would ever hear from me again. So Judge Doughty, he does the opposite of what he's supposed to do. And I'm bringing this up because the level of competence that I've seen in the federal judiciary is basically zero. Almost every judge I've dealt with is either stupid, corrupt, drunk, rude, I believe without exception, in federal court, it's terrible. I mean, imagine if your impression was going to the doctor for surgery, expect a bad outcome. That's what it is with federal court.
How much fans you got right there, man? How much watching live right now?
Thanks. That guy, he's not watching live right now. He's not even looking at the phone. Point is, the federal judiciary is in terrible shape. And getting back to this Missouri v. Biden, they didn't win anything. The consent decree is a settlement that says for the next 10 years, specifically for these plaintiffs, it's important for people to understand. So some other anonymous idiot on X, and we got to talk about that, all these anonymous accounts that are allowed to participate in the information sphere of X. It's really the opposite of what Elon Musk told us was going to happen. Didn't he say that the whole purpose of, making people pay with credit cards was to verify that you're a real person and that you say who you are? I understood that there'd be a whole kind of segmentation of X where it was like real people using their real names verified by credit cards and other means, and then a lesser kind of class of lower influence accounts of fake named losers who would kind of be able to participate, but not in the same way. I feel like that's what Elon Musk told us we were going to get, but that's not quite what we got. So some loser, anonymous fake named loser, says, oh, somebody sounds jealous. Why would I be jealous of a lawsuit that I'm not involved in that literally has no impact on me? This consent decree ends the case without any adjudication on the merits, meaning no judge has decided if the government did or did not collude, violate the law. No individual who was named as a defendant, which, by the way, Nina Jankowicz, Anthony Fauci, those people have been out of those jobs for several years now, and so they're not doing whatever it is was being complained about anymore in the first place. So it's not like this lawsuit has now stopped anything or reversed anything. I didn't get a chance to speak to Joe Hoft yet, but I don't think Jim Hoft got any compensation or remuneration or any kind of, what did he get? What did he win? It's not like they reinstated his YouTube account. I'm still trying to get that done with YouTube. I've got legal letters and different things underway trying to get the Jason Goodman channel back. But before this consent decree happened, Congress threatening to investigate YouTube got YouTube to create this framework by which people could be reinstated. This lawsuit didn't do that. So my point is, this doesn't set a legal precedent. This doesn't protect your rights. This doesn't have any language. There is no admission. It explicitly says this is not an admission of any violation of law or wrongdoing. I mean, I'm not reading the thing, but no lawyer is signing a settlement agreement in which their client, at least not in this case, agrees that they broke the law. No one does that. This basically agreed to end the lawsuit and gave some legal lip service to the fact that the First Amendment is not affected by technology and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it sounds good. Gave Eric Schmidt an opportunity to sell his book. That was bad. That was the first thing that made me say, Eric Schmidt, this is not an opportunity to promote your book. You're a senator. You're not supposed to be selling books, particularly not on the merit of crap that you did while you were the state attorney general and now a senator. He's given a huge platform. Think about how many people follow that guy on social media simply because he is a senator and he's using it to hawk a book. I lost a lot of respect for Eric Schmidt when he did that. He's going on podcasts selling that book. I mean, I guess it's okay for a senator to do that, but how many people who are in the government are supposed to be making our country and our lives better are focused on promoting their own celebrity and building up a social media following so that they can sell books and enter consent decrees that actually do nothing to protect your rights. So to that anonymous loser who I've already blocked on Twitter, I'm not jealous of this. I'm trying to point out to people that this is more political theater, Rand Paul, as a certain diminutive doctor would say, who, by the way, was a defendant in this. What does this consent decree do to Anthony Fauci? Guess what? Nothing. So that's my question for anybody involved in this case. What was actually won? You won the case. Not really. I mean, it's fair to say you didn't lose the case, but I don't really understand what it is that you think you won. A flowery letter from attorneys for government agencies that are no longer controlled by the people who you're suing. Joe Biden didn't have to testify. We didn't even get anybody on the stand admitting personally to anything. You know, I mean, it remains like I think I'm the only person who's actually cross-examined Nina Jankowicz and held her to any kind of account in court. My case against Nina Jankowicz remains ongoing. Right now it's in the Virginia Court of Appeals. Basically, you know, she, with the assistance of George's malicious lunatic brother, who is subject to a injunction against stalking violence in the state of Florida that prevents him from possessing firearms for the next 9.5 years. With his help and the assistance of another incompetent judge, what was her name? Judith Wheat. She's still a judge in Virginia Commonwealth Court, state court in Virginia. They found me in contempt of their unconstitutional injunction against mentioning Nina Jankowicz, in part because Ivan Raiklin mentioned her. So I appealed that ruling on the basis that, okay, my legal theories were flawed in trying to go back to 2023 and appeal that. I've already lost the opportunity to do that. But the 2025 ruling that found me in contempt, I appealed on the basis that you can't enforce an unconstitutional injunction. I recognize now that I can no longer overturn it. That's unfortunate. But the injunction is over. It ended in 2025. This finding that I'm in contempt is something that sort of stays there. It's civil contempt, but I, obviously don't want it. And it forced me to remove a video under court order from YouTube and Odyssey, etc. The video where Ivan Raiklin does his little business. Now let's talk about Ivan Raiklin for a second, because there's something else developing that I'm not quite dialed into yet. But last night or yesterday sometime, 0 Hour, who I don't really know who 0 Hour is. I've DM'd with him. I like him. He seems to be honest. I don't think he's trying to deceive people. I don't always agree with him, but he's a friendly and certainly smart guy who appears to know a lot about internet security and cybersecurity and stuff like that. He's been around longer than me. I remember I first interacted with him when I was still communicating with George Webb, and there might have been some skepticism on his part about me, but several years ago he re-emerged on Twitter and had some positive things to say. So I like 0 Hour, and like I said, I mostly agree with what he's saying and posting. And I'm not exactly sure where this came from, but he was posting a lot of stuff about Baron Coleman and Candace Owens, basically the whole Candace Owens crew. Baron Coleman, Blake Bednar's, is that a TRX? A lot of stuff, yeah, it is. A lot of stuff that I agreed with. Right? Let's just look at that for a second. Yeah. This is the Raptor Cruncher. So he was, now, but what he said, and then this somehow ties into the FBI girlfriend, right? Like, what's with her? She's come out with a whole thing now, the country music sensation. What's her name? Alexis Wilkins, I think? I don't know what that girl's deal is, but she came out with a whole investigative journalism. What is going on with that? Is she a country music sensation or an investigative journalist or an FBI girlfriend? I guess she's all of the above. She can be that, but it seems weird to do this big kind of social media expose when your boyfriend is the FBI director. I know if I was personally involved with the FBI director and he wasn't incompetent, I would keep quiet and have him do all the things. Like, in other words, if I was personal friends or personally involved with the FBI director, George and his brother would be arrested. They'd be investigated. I don't presume that I could influence an FBI director beyond providing them with information, but based on the information that I've seen in the public domain, those guys would be arrested, except I think they probably work for the FBI, which is what I would presume in a general sense about the FBI girlfriend. Not that she works for the FBI. She's not going and punching a card and cashing a check from the FBI. But I think there are ways that these people operate that are, like, she's saying all this stuff about Flynn, right? I got it in a general sense that she was saying that, oh yes, in the stupid Mario Galaxy. How convenient. In a general sense, my takeaway was that she's saying essentially that Flynn is being paid by foreign something. I don't know. Maybe that's possible. I mean, we saw he had some kind of, the Flynn intelligence group was getting paid by Turkey, right? Isn't that what he was getting jammed up 4 years ago when they had him on trial? Or however many years ago that was. He was getting paid by Turkey. But I don't know. As far as I can see, Flynn is getting paid by corrupt nonprofits, which, by the way, FBI girlfriend, I think your boyfriend has a similar problem. What does Jesse Banal know about that? The Cash Foundation? Seems like there's a lot of self-dealing going on in there at best. But I don't know. Tough to say. The Flynn people, from what I see, they've got that network of nonprofits. What is it called? America. What's the Flynn nonprofit called again? I'd have to go back to my notes, or people can just search for Flynn on my X timeline. These guys are power washing the sidewalk. Definitely worthwhile. I don't know if Flynn is receiving foreign money. I haven't looked at the 990s for a while, and I don't know if that's exactly the way he would go about doing it. Are these cops going through the light or what? They got the party lights going, but people are walking right in front of their car. It must not. Yeah, I mean, so that's what I'm saying. You either tell people what you're doing or don't. Just blowing the horn. What fucking assholes the cops are. Ridiculous. Sal's got that story where they're beating up some handcuffed guy, and people seem to think that's okay. I'm not sure that you're supposed to do that. Sal says it's a violation of department policy. We'll see what happens with all of that. But the Flynn network, I don't know, if anybody was actually concerned in going after Michael Flynn and Joe Flynn and Patrick Byrne, the Ginger Frankenstein, there's lots of evidence that those guys are doing screwy business with the nonprofits. The America Project, that's what it's called. That good luck, have fun, don't die looks interesting. It's some kind of like cross between Back to the Future and Groundhog Day, apparently. I might be interested in seeing that. I saw a little trailer of that movie. I haven't seen a movie in a long time, though. So yeah, we're here just a couple days into spring. Lots and lots of people here in Times Square. Waiting for show tickets. Oh, here's the Naked Cowboy. So that's good. He survived the blizzard. I don't understand how he was able to be outside in like 8 degrees in his underwear and not die. Freeze like a total ice cube. Ooh, who's this? This is a new character that I haven't seen before in Times Square. It's Iron Man and a bunny. Bunny Iron Man. I don't know why Iron Man is hanging out with a bunny. But yeah, I mean, as I read that lawsuit, it's a big giant nothing. You know, political win, sure, for Eric Schmidt. He can make that tweet, get 1 million views on the tweet. It's like an ad to 1 million people. Buy my book. I'm sure he's going to sell at least a couple of hundred books out of 1 million people becoming aware that the book exists and having a good feeling about him, you know, winning a lawsuit. I don't know, lawyers, it seems like even lawyers who I think I like never fail to disappoint. Really bad. But spring is here. It's a nice day. Good weather out here in New York City. There's Jensen Wang over there. He's gone on that NASDAQ. Yeah, they had the big NVIDIA GTC. That's what the sign is saying. That's what they call the Super Bowl of AI. That's the most valuable company in the world right now, NVIDIA. Pretty smart for them. I don't know if people who maybe have been trying to buy anything at all for a computer lately have noticed how much more expensive things like memory, solid state storage, the prices are going up like crazy because all the companies that want to make that stuff aren't really interested in selling to consumers. They're directing all of the products to data centers for AI. And so I think Micron makes the brand Crucial. They've discontinued it. You can't get it anymore. Crucial memory. And I was attempting to buy an 8 terabyte solid state drive. I have a lot of those. The last time I bought one, I think they were down to $600. Now it was like $1,400. I didn't get it. So I don't think that that's got to do with inflation. It doesn't have to do with the price of oil or the Iran war. What is going on with that, by the way? I just spoke to someone from Iran, and she told me that she can't communicate with her family because they're afraid to say anything over the phone or over the internet. That's pretty bad. But also spoke to a Crowdsource the Truth viewer who lives in Israel, and he said that they're still bombing Israel, but it's less frequency and it seems to be calming down a little bit. So, calming down sounds good. Oh my God. Who tells these fat women that they should be having their bellies hang out? That guy's shooting 3D. Canon 3D camera on a Ronin. It's interesting. I don't think that's going anywhere. I was watching there's a couple different cameras out now that do this kind of 180 3D, which is, I guess, the current version of what I was doing years ago. Canon has that. I guess it's an EOS RX or something, or EOS R5, something like that, with a specific lens. I do really like Canon. Good company. They had a 3D lens that I worked with back in 2001. They lent me a prototype, and we're so happy with the work that I did. We actually had a meeting set for September 12th, 2001. What is that noise? Got to be some construction going on up there. Sounds terrible. It's getting worse. Oh my God. No, it's these guys. My God. Holy cow. That's making me deaf. I don't know. That's not a good way to make people sympathetic to your cause. I don't care what they're striking about. I want them off the street. That's ridiculous. That hurt my ears. That's right. What was I even talking about? Yeah, I had a meeting set with Canon for September 12th, 2001 to talk about making a video to promote their 3D lens, and obviously that was canceled. There have been a number of things like that that have happened, unfortunate occurrences that have shaped my involvement with 3D. That guy there was shooting some 180 3D on a Canon R5, it looked like. There's also a company called Blackmagic Design has released a $32,000 8K 3D camera designed for that Apple headset. I mean, maybe it'll do something. It's certainly an engineering feat to make that camera. But I was watching a video yesterday about four-dimensional Gaussian splats. I realize I'm now deeply in an area that's probably not of very much interest to most of the people watching Crowdsource the Truth. But it's basically a way to essentially capture a three-dimensional video where you can kind of move around through the video and look at different parts of it. You know, traditional 3D movies that you go see, like Avatar, obviously that's an illusion. It's two-dimensional images presented to you, you know, each image isolated to your left eye and right eye, so that your brain reconstructs the stereoscopic effect that you would normally observe in the real world. You can't get up in the movie theater and walk behind the character and see a different perspective on the movie. Avatar, 3D Gaussian splats let you do that. It's pretty amazing. You need a lot of cameras to record it. And I don't know how practical it is as a... I don't know. Maybe someday in the future, you'll be able to use an array of cameras that are everywhere to have a 3D Gaussian splat of everything everywhere you go. Seems possible. All these technologies, we're living in this technocratic world, right? I think that was a weed store and now it's pizza. Weed or pizza? I wonder if it's the same people. It seems like you could launder money with either of those. Yeah, but that sheriff took all the weed money and the weed store's closed. So now they got to sell pizza. All right. Definitely fewer weed stores. I don't know, that whole legalization of marijuana didn't seem to really go the way they wanted. The one really actually kind of like professional operation that I was aware of from when I lived in LA was that thing called MedMen. They had a store on Fifth Avenue that opened like before they had announced the legalization. Then when all the illegal stores who weren't licensed were selling weed, that place was still there, and they were saying, no, it's only medical prescriptions. And then it closed. Because New York was only giving the licenses to people who had been arrested for weed offenses or something. You know, again, it was another one of these equity moves where if you had been harmed by being arrested for weed, so they had some homeless charity that was running a weed store. Everything they do seems to be super stupid, but the MedMen place closed in New York. You go to LA, you drive down the highway, that company has billboards, big giant stores. It's like the Apple store of weed. But now it's closed in New York. So say goodbye to that tax revenue. Instead of doing things that make any kind of sense, like if we're going to have alcohol and cigarettes be legal, legalize weed and tax it, instead they just want to increase real estate tax and do more things that are going to make people who are earning money leave the state. I was just down in the subway earlier today, and there were like 4 cops in there, which is good. We'd given tickets to an Asian guy and his girlfriend for jumping the turnstile. I support that. They shouldn't be jumping the turnstile. But then a guy who claimed to be 72, homeless guy, he looked homeless. They've decriminalized bike riding on the sidewalk. That guy on the bike just crashed into this lady. Didn't crash, but he brushed her. But the 72-year-old guy, he was like, oh, now I'm going to get a ticket. He jumped over the turnstile, and the cops were like, hey, man. And he said, oh, now I'm going to get a ticket. I'm on Social Security. I'm homeless. I'm 72. And the cops didn't give him a ticket. So, I mean, we have all these people who are just doing nothing but financially, emotionally, and practically dragging society down. I mean, does it help us to give a 72-year-old guy an expensive ticket? You know what? Give him the ticket, make him go to court, get yelled at by a judge, let the judge waive the fee. But give that guy a hard lesson, because now he leaves that situation thinking, haha, I got a free pass. I can just jump the turnstile and I'll tell the cops next time that I'm 72 and the government already pays for everything I do, so I might as well break the law. I don't know. Not really the best. Empire State Building. So yeah, they've decriminalized bikes on the sidewalk, basically making everything in the city way worse. Mandami's, New York. What are we gonna do? Jump the turnstile, nobody cares. Sleep on the sidewalk. He's basically just becoming an imam, right? He's leading large groups of Muslim men in public prayer sessions and giving dumb speeches about how he wants to increase taxes, which, I don't know, is that gonna solve the problem? I think they need to curtail wasteful spending, cut down on nonprofits that are stealing money. I saw some video where someone was going through the numbers of just exactly how many nonprofits there are and like the percentage of people in New York who work for nonprofits. It's absolutely crazy. Now, what the hell is going on here? We have another noisy protest. What is this thing? I don't know, it's some hog with his hand around the neck of the worker. I don't know what that is. Finally, this construction was completed. People remember when I used to walk around here with Charles, Madison Square Garden. Oh yeah, we were talking the other day about how that guy in Maryland wants to build a sphere at the MGM Grand. I mean, how is that thing not a big, giant money laundering mess? The Sphere in Las Vegas is losing all kinds of money, I read, because it's incredibly difficult to keep it operating. It needs a ton of specialized technicians, and because it's such a unique entertainment venue, it's not like an IMAX theater where you can make one movie and then make, 200 copies of it and send it to IMAX theaters all over the place. They have one sphere. I guess that's why they want to make more. Whoever is running the Sphere company needs to be able to kind of like spread the cost of Sphere entertainment stuff across multiple spheres, or it's absolutely going to fail. But I recently saw an article talking about the incredible catastrophic financial disaster that is that Sphere. Looks cool on the Vegas skyline. I don't even know if the Maryland waterfront has a skyline like that. We'll see. A lot of crazy ideas. But just, taking it back to the beginning of what I was talking about, Missouri v. Biden is another one of these boondoggles. I think the only people who made any money from that are the lawyers who worked on it. I have a call into Joe Hoff. That was not him who called back earlier. I have a call into Joe Hoff to just get their opinion. How do you feel about this? I mean, I'm guessing right now, of course, but I think they're probably happy that the settlement ended the case in their favor, but they didn't actually win anything. Like I said, there's no compensation as part of this settlement. There's no admission of guilt, no finding by a judge that you could cite in a future case. Like you could talk about this in a future case, but because it's just a settlement, it doesn't create any kind of binding precedent. So again, to the anonymous idiot who thinks that I'm jealous, I'm not jealous at all. I'm frustrated because after years, if they had actually won the case and had a finding that these people had violated the law, violated the Fourth Amendment, and done something with social media companies using their influence as government employees, then I would be happy, because that could be cited in certain cases that I have where I am similarly situated. Now, it's useless, because any judge, if you cite this case, will say, well, there was no finding. This is just a settlement. And then they throw that away. So, a lot of people don't understand what I'm talking about. I get it. I've dealt with that all my life. People try to fool you with complicated things. I'm trying to disambiguate it. That's what I mean when I say crowdsource the truth. Not to vote on an outcome, and if a lot of people think that punching a guy who's biting a cop's shoe is something that should be done, then we go and do that. I'm trying to find out the truth. What is the NYPD department policy about when a guy is handcuffed behind his back and 3 cops are stepping on him? What level of force are you allowed to use? Are you allowed to punch him in the rib cage repeatedly and make him cry? Because if they say yes, how would you feel if the cops did that to you? And you say, well, I wouldn't bite somebody. Okay, yeah, he shouldn't be biting him, but I'm just saying, it's not your opinion. It's not a street fight. The cops have rules about how they're supposed to act, and if the rule is once a perpetrator is handcuffed, you can no longer punch him. I don't know. Maybe if the guy was kicking them, I don't know. We'll see. I think there might be mitigating factors if they determine that he was biting them, but I don't know if he was biting the cops or not. Trying to bite. I don't know. We'll find out. But that's crowdsourcing the truth, getting to the truth, not crowdsourcing the popular opinion. People who appreciate that, I hope you'll sponsor the show. Please go to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, subscribe on there. You can also send a sponsorship payment to paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth. But I think your money is better spent by sponsoring. Then you get access to lots of sponsor-exclusive content also on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I noticed just the other day, I don't know if this is active yet, but Subscribestar has added a wallet of some kind. I don't know what that means. Maybe, I don't know, send money to Subscribestar and then pay people with it. I'm not sure yet. But thanks to everyone who sponsors on Subscribestar. You can also go on to X, follow me at JG_CSTT. You can subscribe there. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention about that. So all these anonymous people on X, I don't know why Elon Musk allows that. He says a lot of stuff that, you know, calling someone a liar is a pretty big thing to do. Maybe he changed his mind and said something about that I didn't see. But I do distinctly recall him saying that they were going to use credit cards to verify people. And we have at least one, you know, acknowledged example of someone who is not John Cohen paying to verify the false identity John Cohen. Some Dutch person paid for his annual subscription. And by the way, then Cullen dipped out and basically let down all the people who pay him, including that Dutch guy. So you shouldn't be allowed to do that. You should have to use your own credit card and be identified by your name on X, or else be, hey, this is an anonymous unknown operator. It could be anybody, you know, viewer beware kind of thing.